Julius, thank you so much for being here today.
You're welcome.
So why don't you start by telling me about what experience or insight led you to start founding your company?
Yes. So I grew up here in Africa. My name is Julius Mwale. I'm the principal investor for Mwale Medical and Technology City, a $2 billion city based in Kenya. Yeah, so I grew up here in Africa, and I've always wanted to change our community.
Yeah.
I've wanted to develop, the continent, in a way that, we'll get a stable middle class, empower, the people in Africa, and let them own the resources that they have on this continent of Africa.
What would you say was the biggest challenge you faced when trying to do this?
Exactly. So when I began building the city, this $2 billion city, the biggest challenge is land. You want to build a city, you need land. Right. And so what we did, we had to get the community to be able to partner with us and then become a leader and a manager for this city. So now we have an integrated community development plan where we have the community as part of the ownership of this city.
Very cool. Now I think a lot of the things I've been hearing from young founders today is that they have this idea and they want to make it happen, but there's all this bureaucratic red tape and they don't know how to get around the governments and partner with them. What advice would you give to people who were in the same position you were in and trying to do that?
Exactly. So when you have an idea, you have to go out and share with other founders, share with other people, test it in the market, because the most important thing when you're starting a business, it's getting the capital. And to get the capital for idea, you go into the market and test the idea up, get a proposal from the market, and then come up, to be able to raise capital, from other founders or venture team of people.
Now, speaking of capital, what do you think is the state of the VC market here, and is it easy to raise capital? Is there anything that needs improvement here?
Exactly. So the VC market in Africa, it's very young. Specifically in other markets, I come from Kenya. It's a young VC market, mostly dominated by European companies, venture capital companies, coming in. Of late, we have the US companies coming in, but the market is growing. So for Kenya, for example, we had billions of shillings of VC that went out, last year. And we're expecting those numbers to grow according to data by over 75% in the next 3 years. And so in a decade, we're looking at having a well-established, VC market in agriculture, in agro-processing, in tech, IT, healthcare, and energy. So those are 4 regions where the VC market is basically kind of, dominating and permeating, within Africa.
What would you say are the biggest misconceptions about entrepreneurship or founders in Africa right now?
Yeah, the biggest misconception is that Africa, is the only place in the world, most people don't understand this, the only place in the world where Fortune 500 can be created within half a decade. Companies can be started and they'll be making $1 billion within half a decade. 70% of the population under the age of 30. So you have the biggest resource in Africa. It's labor, and most people don't see that. They think biggest resource is oil and gold and diamonds. In Africa, the biggest resource is labor. So highly educated, you can come here, you can get very affordable labor, and they're very innovative. You can create your product or your business and be able to move it on a global stage within 5 years for Fortune 500.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you.
What is exciting you in the entrepreneurship and founder space? Is there anything you're looking to invest in, or any examples of things that you think are up and coming and really exciting?
Exactly. Big one in Africa today, so we have 3 areas. We have healthcare, very big in Africa. Governments and countries are going for universal healthcare. You have a youth population here. We're talking of fertility rates, being high. 20, 30 years, most of this population, over 70%, will be over 50 years old. So they're going to need, treatment and healthcare. Number 2 is agro-processing. Agriculture, Africa is big on agriculture. And so agro-processing and, value addition, it's a big market now for investment. For example, there's a company in Kenya that got, funding from Wall Street, doing, agro-processing and value addition for food, and it's over $1 billion company and all that. And of course, number 3, you're in tech, in tech area. So tech is grown, mobile tech specifically. And the young people on digital, internet penetration is growing in Africa, is way higher. Kenya is almost 90%, in internet growth. So you can basically invest into tech and you're going to reach all the 1.3 billion people in Africa.
Very cool. Now, I know you're a businessman, but I also want to talk to you about your philanthropic endeavors and the good you're doing for the continent. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Exactly. So I'm a chairman of a foundation called the American Institute for African Development. So $2 billion in assets. Yeah, works in 54 countries in Africa.
Wow.
About 3,000 staff and volunteers. And we work in governance, entrepreneurship governance. We work in healthcare. Yeah, we work into socio-economic development. Yeah, and then making sure that, we have Africa, free from corruption with gender equity, yeah, within the continent. Yeah, so we're targeting more. One of the biggest flagship projects we're doing is that we are paying for communities that can't afford healthcare to have insurance. Yeah, so we do that, all over Africa. And now we partner with hospitals, we partner with governments to pay for communities, either for premiums for healthcare, a third of the people that are very poor, or pay co-pays for it. And so we're doing that. In last year we paid 18,000 co-pays, for 18,000 premiums and co-pays for families, 18,000 families. Were able to benefit, last year.
Oh my gosh, and my final question for you, because I want to go back to something you said. You were talking about gender equity.
Yes.
How do we get more female entrepreneurs and women entrepreneurs involved in Africa, and what are you doing to help promote that?
Exactly. So what we've done, because digital penetration is an equalizer, for both men and women. Like, for example, I've looked into Kenya. You have young people coming up with YouTube channels, and we're working with female founders to be able to do that.
Right.
Our city has partnered with Female Quotient. It's an organization based in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Their headquarters is built in our city. And so they have 4,000 square feet to do gender equity. So Female Quotient does gender equity in Fortune 500 for women. And so they have selected Kenya in our city as the headquarters for Africa. And so we are working together to be able to basically bring gender equity all over Africa with Africa First Ladies. And we started that project last year, and we're going to continue with it this year at the G20 in India. Be able to do
Wow. Well, fantastic mission. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Anytime.